Good afternoon everyone, welcome back to our reading lesson. This is our second lesson, by the way, The Skunk Ladder by Patrick F. McManus. Do you remember the genre of the story? Yes, humorous fiction. And what means? Excellent. The characters and the characters and events that make you laugh. You could say comedy story, funny story, interesting as well. And this is the cover of the page, the story, The Skunk Ladder by Patrick F. McManus. Question of the week: how can we find adventure in ordinary events? Genre: humorous fiction. The characters and action that make you laugh. Okay, and before we start reading, let's double check your homework in your reading sheet. This is possible answer given. Question 7: he stared of in space, his face enveloped. What does this word means? By the way, this is a verb and this is the past form of the word envelope. Envelope means covered completely with that dreamy expression that his face is full of excitement, that he said his face enveloped in that dreamy expression. Number 7: what do you know about the characters? What are their traits? Crazy, unrealistic, go on dangerous adventures. So what can you predict about Eddie's idea? Yes, that his hole will be much bigger than Mr. Muldoon had thought. Summarize, take notes of these possible answers. I write my own, so you write your own. That's better, of course. Crazy Eddie and the narrator are friends. They like to go into crazy and dangerous adventures. Oof, no double V, by the way. This is misspelling word. Mr. Muldoon asked them to let him know before start doing something. Okay, so get ready and get your reading books, page 178 and 179 as well. And let's start. And by the way, you have two options: either you read yourself or listen, up to you. Listen.
Digging the hole occupied us for most of a week. One of the problems with digging a big hole is that it is difficult to know when it is big enough and deep enough. There are basically two kinds of holes dug in the ground. One, applied holes, such as for posts, wells, mines, etc. And two, holes for hole's sake. Eddie and I were digging one of the latter. Eventually, the hole was so deep we could barely heave shovelfuls of dirt up over its sides. At that point, Eddie judged it to be finished. Since Eddie had insisted that we keep the sides of the hole squared up, we had to pull ourselves out of it on a rope, one end of which was tied to a pile of stumps nearby. The stump pile also served to screen our...
Okay guys, let's discuss these two paragraphs together. First of all, how many days they are digging this hole? For how many days? For 1 week? 7 days? Exactly the same answers. So let's answer these questions together. Complete. The two boys stayed digging for 7 days or 1 week, and the reason for digging was what? Entertaining, or for playing, or could say hold for hole's sake. Eddie keeps the side of the hole squared up so that why he keep the side of the hole squared up, the shape of the square? Why? Yes, so they can pull themselves out of it on a rope. So guys, here let's discuss them together. I said here one of the biggest, or one of the problems they faced while they are digging. Yes, what's one of the problems? Yes, it's difficult to know when it's big enough or deep enough, when they have to stop, when they have to continue. And he said here, the narrator mentioned that are basically two kind of holes. The first one, applied holes such as for posts, wells, mines, and holes for hole's sake. Why did the narrator he use the word applied holes? Applied holes. What do you think the meaning of this word applied? Applied means having a practical use or practical purpose of something like that. And the second type was holes for holes sake. Eddie and I were digging one of the latter. Eventually the hole was so deep we could barely heave, we could barely lift the shovelfuls of dirt up over its side. At that point, Eddie judged it to be finished. When he said Eddie judged it to be finished, what does it mean? What do you think why the narrator used this? Eddie judged it to be finished. It means that Eddie was the planner, was the dreamer, and he was the decision maker. So he decided when they stop and when they stop. The second paragraph, since Eddie had insisted that we keep the side of the hole squared up, so we had to pull ourselves out of it on a rope, one end of which was tied to a pile of stumps nearby the stump. Do you know the meaning of the word stump? What means stump? Do you know? The bottom part of a tree left in the ground after the rest had been cut or fallen. This is the bottom part of a tree. The bottom part of the tree after the rest had been cut, the rest of the tree. But the lower part is just left, so it's called stump. Also served to screen. The word screen means hide or protect. And let's see what's protect of them. Why do you think the narrator goes with Eddie's plan? Why? Why he think that? He think that it would be fun. The plan, of course. The second page. Let me read the last sentence of page 178. The stump pile all serve to screen our digging activities. Listen or read, up to you.
Activities from the view of Mr. Muldoon, who was cutting hay in a field on the far side of the farm. As Eddie often pointed out, any kind of engineering feat should be screened from the eyes of the engineer's parents. That way you could concentrate on your work and didn't have to be answering a lot of dumb questions all the time. We were immensely proud of the hole, and I still don't believe I've ever seen a nicer one. It was so nice, in fact, that Eddie abandoned his view of it as purely an aesthetically pleasing hole and began trying to think of it as practical.
He said here that the pile would serve us to hide ourselves or to screen our digging activities from the view of Mr. Muldoon. So Mr. Muldoon won't see them while they are digging. They are taking the pile of the stump as shield. You know the word shield? So no one can see them. As Eddie pointed out, any kind of engineering feat should be screened from the eyes of engineering parent. That way you could concentrate. So no one asks you many questions. What are you doing? You stop doing? It's big enough? No. You get out, guys. He said here, we concentrate on your work, and you don't have to be answering a lot of dumb questions all the time. Dumb question mean stupid question. By the way, the word dumb here informal word, so do not say in this word while you are writing. Dumb questions all the time, so I don't have to answer. Eddie, what are you doing? Get up, go and do your homework. So no one can see me while I'm hiding. We were immensely proud of the hole, and I still don't believe I ever seen a nicer one. It was so nice, in fact, that Eddie abandoned his view of it as purely aesthetically pleasing and whole and began trying to think of it as practical. What do you think the practical side would be? Okay, we did the whole right now, and so what's next, Eddie? What we have to do about this hole? Let's answer this question first and know later what is the practical side of this hole. How did the stump pile serve them? Yes, to protect them from the view of Mr. Muldoon or shield them. Text evidence the two boys' feeling of their work. How their feeling of their work? They're happy or bad? Sad. Of course they are happy. Text evidence, go back to the text. Yes, if you read this, we were immensely proud of the whole. Or you can write, I've ever seen a nicer one. It was so nice. One of these sentences is correct. Predict what would be the practical side of B. What do you think? I keep this question for you. This is possible answers. Whatever you write could be. This is a prediction. The last one. Oh, do you remember the meaning of these words? Feet, immensely, abandoned. What is the meaning of this word? Feet means what? Do you remember? Yes, a great act or skillful act. Yes, immensely, very greatly, and abandoned. Yes, to give up entirely, to leave your idea and think of something else. That he said here, Eddie abandoned his view of it as purely authentically pleasing whole. I abandoned my think of this as a whole, pleasing whole, yes, it looks like good, and now trying of something else as a practical side of whole. So he abandoned his old, or his, yes, let me say his old idea, and now he's thinking of it as practical side. The last paragraph, listen or read, up to you.
You know what we could do with this hole? He said. We could make a wild animal trap out of it. You know, like Frank Buck does in Africa. We could cover it up with branches and leaves and grass, and wild animals would come along and fall into it. Then we could tame them and teach them to do tricks. Eddie fairly glowed with enthusiasm as his idea began to take shape. And then we could start our own circus, he went on. We could charge people to see our animals do tricks. We might even get rich. Gosh, I bet we could catch a deer or an elk or a bear or a mountain lion or...
The prediction, the question of prediction. Did you predict well? Was it correct? Yes, the practical side would be make a wild animal trap out of it. You know, like Frank Buck. I keep to search who is Frank Buck. Doesn't Africa search for it? We could cover it with branches and leaves and grass. Wild animals would come along and fall into. Then we could tame them. The word tame, if you tame an animal, means you control him or control them easily. I can't control animals, so I tame it, and teach them to do tricks. Eddie fairly glowed with enthusiasm, with excitement, as his idea began to take shape. Oh, he is taking his imagination so far. And then we could start our own circus. He went on, we could charge people to see our animals do tricks. We might even get rich. Gosh, I bet we could catch a deer or an elk or a bear or a mountain lion or what? What do you think? You can complete this sentence. Use your background knowledge. Where are they? In the zoo? Mr. Muldoon's bar, right? So what can be right here? What animals can be right here? Up to you. I give these questions for you, completed. So let's answer this question. What are the two boys up to do with the whole as a practical? Excellent. A wild animal trap. To what extent do the two boys use their imagination? Oh, so far they use it. They said we can tame animals, teach them to do tricks, even we can start our own business tricks, and we can charge people to see our animals. We get rich, we can catch deer or any animals. These are the imagination of this, the answer of this question. Background, this is what I ask you to answer it. I bet we could catch a deer or an elk or a bear or a mountain lion. Or continue this sentence. Use, if you were in his place, Eddie's place, what do you think could be here in this sentence? I keep this question for you guys. I recommend each one of you to read the 2 pages and prepare for next 2 pages. Inshallah, next week we're gonna learn them together. And thank you for listening and watching. Stay safe, stay home, and take care. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Bye bye.